Hello everyone, on today's episode of What the Hell is Going On in California, we are talking about gun control and how Californians' faith in it is slowly slipping. While this is something that might come as a surprise to you, California is a very liberal place. There are a lot of Democrats, and as such, that means gun control laws are very strict here, and that generally, people will blindly suck at the government's teat to pray that they will protect them and that gun control will work. I know, shocker. I know you probably wouldn't have guessed it, but that's just the way it is here. But today I'm here to give you a little bit of faith in society as we show that, yes, many people are now coming around to the side of gun ownership and less people are on the board for gun control, generally in the state of California. Let's talk a little bit about that in a second, but I do want to say thank you to everyone that supports this channel. Thank you to everyone likes, comments, subscribes. Thank you to everyone that shares it out in places like Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. I really do appreciate the support. You guys are awesome. So we see this title here, Californians' Faith in Gun Control Slips in New Poll from the Los Angeles Times. Now, amid a surge in shootings this year, a majority of Californian voters say that they believe gun control laws are effective in reducing violent crime, but confidence in them has slipped, according to a UC Berkeley Institute of Governmental Studies poll co-sponsored by the Los Angeles Times. The poll released Thursday found that 56% of the state's voters surveyed believed stronger laws restricting the sale and possession of guns help make their communities safer, but the number is down from 60% who felt that way 3 years ago. Very interesting, considering the fact that California is basically the model student when it comes to the gun controller's agenda of saying, hey, look, California has universal background checks, we have assault weapon bans, we have ammunition background checks, we have 10-day waiting periods for the cooldowns, we have May issue CCWs where some counties like Santa Clara will only accept bribes in exchange for a CCW, and we have basically every possible form of red flag law in this state. Yet somehow, it seems as if California still has violence. Very interesting. Now, the poll also found that 57% of Californian voters say it is more important to place greater controls on gun ownership than it is to protect Americans' rights to own guns under the Second Amendment, but that number is down from 64% who felt that way in 2018. This is very interesting because in 2016, we saw that when it was on the polls, when people were able to vote, 66% of people voted in favor of banning the possession of legally possessed at the time high capacity or standard capacity magazines, and they also voted in favor of adding ammunition background checks to the process in order to buy ammo, which is why many of you in the state of California cannot have ammo shipped to your door when you previously could have. If you want to work around for that, you're going to have to get a COE and an FFL03, which I do have a video on, so if you just look up COE FFL03 California, my ugly face should show right up in the search bar, and you should be able to find that to learn more. Now, that was 66% of people in 2016 that voted for those laws. Yet now we're seeing that 57% of the California voters say that it's more important to control people's rights to own guns. Does that mean that only 57% of people would have voted in favor of that today? I don't think so. I think it would still probably pass today very easily. But that is down from 64%. It might have something to do with the fact that last year in 2020, we saw the biggest growth in first-time gun owners and first-time firearms in the home for many households. Do you think that those people experiencing what it is that they actually voted for because they probably didn't know what they were actually voting for might have changed their opinion? I certainly think so. I think that last year taught a lot of people what it really means to have the ability to protect yourself and the importance of self-preservation. I think many people thought, oh, the government will always protect me, the government loves me and cares for me and will always support me. A lot of people want to continue to blindly suckle at the teat of the state and hope that it has their best interest in mind. But I think many people last year saw that that isn't the case. Very interesting to see, very hopeful to see that Californians are maybe heading in the right direction. Now we look at the director of that study that says, I think it's due in large measure to the increase in crime, especially violent crime. No shit. But still, it is a very democratic and very liberal constituency, and gun control laws have traditionally been quite popular among those voters, not only here in California, but nationwide. I love all this talk about, oh, liberals own guns too, we just don't make it part of our personality. Okay, cool, some of you do. However, you guys are still the ones that are consistently passing gun control. And yes, I know The NRA and Reagan were absolute dog ass when it comes to the assault weapon ban, the NFA, and all that business. Yet, at the same time, if you look at who is currently trying to pass all of the gun control in the world, and who is responsible for some of the worst gun control in the state of California, it's Democrats. It's liberals. I get it. You might think that you're cool and edgy because you're a liberal and you own a gun. Fantastic. Don't care. You guys are still the people that are putting this in place. It is your responsibility to tell your fellow Democrats, as well it is my responsibility to tell Democrats, hey, please don't take away my ability to protect myself when that fascist government that you believe is in power tries to come for us. Because yeah, the government would never come for your guns. Definitely don't go check out my playlist called Police Enforcing Gun Control. Definitely don't think about anything about Katrina or any of that. Definitely don't think about New York that is currently trying to take people's Delta Level Defense AR-15s when they were legally purchased in the state of New York. Forget all about all that. Nobody's coming for your guns, right? The poll found 56% of California voters don't believe that the assault weapon ban law violates the U.S. Constitution, which DiCamillo noted is consistent with the level of support for strong gun controls on gun ownership, which is interesting because that was in reference to how last month California appealed a federal court decision that overturned the state ban on assault weapons after a judge ruled that it's unconstitutional. It's almost like the ban that happened from 1994 to 2004 that was proven to have little to no effect on violent crime nationwide, in addition to the fact that it also banned the sale of high-capacity magazines, even though the DOJ said, yeah, this did literally nothing, it's almost like those bans, one, can't prove that they're effective, and two, don't actually do anything, and at the same time are restricting what you can and cannot own. Because remember, the Second Amendment isn't about hunting. The Second Amendment is not about self-defense. The Second Amendment is about ensuring that you have the arms necessary to protect yourself from a government that might become tyrannical. And for those of you that say, oh, that'll never happen, well, in the 1940s, we locked up Americans that happened to be Japanese or have Japanese descended family members simply because their eyes were a little bit too slanty and their skin was a little bit too yellow tinted. And now that might sound racist, but I'm not the one that believes those things. The government is the one that put those people in jail because that's what they believed at the time. So yes, the government can and the government has done absolutely terrible things. So yes, I would like the ability to protect myself from a government that has proven itself time and time again to not have the best interest of its people in mind. The poll on the constitutionality of the assault weapon ban are not relevant to what is now a legal matter to be settled by the courts, according to Sam Paredes, the executive director of the Gun Owners of California, another great organization in addition to the Firearms Policy Coalition. Opinion doesn't matter when it comes to constitutional rights, he said. That's a great point. But we then go on to this. Still, the response by voters on the assault weapon ban was encouraging to Shannon Watts, founder of Moms Demand Action, an organization that advocates for gun control laws. This lady literally about a month ago was posting on Twitter about how she was upset that black people and people of color were buying guns. And I'm not taking that out of context. The article that she was responding to was discussing how people of color are the largest growing group of gun owners nationwide, and she was upset about that. She straight up said that it was bad that they are encouraging and discussing the fact that people of color want to be able to protect themselves. Everybody loves to say, oh, I bet all the Republicans would totally start to be pro-gun control if the black people started arming themselves. No, we don't give a shit who you are, or if you're a good person and you're legally allowed to be out in society and a free person. We don't give a shit. It's the Democrats that are currently trying to enforce laws and create a police state that would give more police powers to insert their will into the lives of people of color, making their contact with police more prevalent in situations that would more likely lead to more of them being killed and assaulted by police. But apparently the Democrats are the one that truly do care about the black people, right? This poll clearly shows that Californians like myself see the recent ruling striking down California's laws prohibiting assault weapons for what it is: dangerous, an outlier to judicial precedent, and one that we believe will be overturned. She asked about a slip in voter confidence in gun laws. Watts said the majority support makes sense because the study after study shows that gun safety laws save lives. Again, not really addressing the fact that the slip happened and that less people support it, just saying, yeah, it's still a majority. Keep holding on to that, dear. I'm sure it won't ever go down. Then we got to start talking about the real cause of why all this is happening. The poll come amid a sharp rise in gun violence in the United States and large cities in California as the COVID-19 pandemic has caused economic and social turmoil. Shootings in LA have increased by 44% so far this year with 2020, and homicides in the cities have surged 28.9%. Statewide, there were 2,202 homicides reported in 2020, the vast majority involving firearms, increase of over 31% of the year before, according to a report this month from the State Department of Justice. An increase in 31% of shootings, of homicides. That's absolutely insane. I thought that couldn't be possible because California has so much gun control. California is such a safe place to live. It's almost like those laws don't work. The online survey, which was completed last week, found that 24% of those who responded feel the stronger gun laws restricting the sale of possession of guns would be very effective at reducing crime, and 32% see them as somewhat effective. I'm kind of curious how they could make it possibly any harder in the state of California, because it's already pretty damn difficult, especially if you don't have proper ID, if your ID is not a real ID, and then you have to provide a birth certificate or a passport, and you gotta have several proofs of residency, and then if your proof of residency doesn't match what's on your ID, you need to have multiple, one of them being a government printed document, one of them being a utility bill, lease agreement, or some sort of other document like that. It's kind of crazy how difficult it actually can be if your ID doesn't have your correct address and isn't a real ID, which is very interesting. DiCamillo said the views on effectiveness of laws vary considerably depending on the voter's party registration, gender, area of residence, and whether they live in a household with guns. Some 79% of Democrats say gun control laws are effective in reducing crime, but only 18% of Republican voters share that same view. Interesting. It's almost like liberals are the ones that are pushing for gun control, not the Republicans. So, weird. Surprising, right? The poll found that 68% of voters who live in households without guns believe firearms restrictions deter crime, twice the percentage of those in firearm-owning homes. Slightly less than a majority of men see gun laws as effective, but 63% of women have confidence in the restrictions. Surprising. Democrats and women are the people who generally support gun control more, when in reality, women would probably be best served by having a gun on their person when walking around through public, and Democrats make up the majority of the people that probably live in the places like cities where the crime is the worst. So why the hell are they still out there supporting gun control? Why would you not want the ability to protect yourself? Everybody talks about, just call 911, or a real man uses their fists. I'm 6'2", 200 pounds. I'm a little bit less than that because I am cutting right now. I'm about 195 pounds. But I don't think anyone is stronger than a San Francisco crackhead. Those people are like goddamn super beings. You think you can fight off a superhero crackhead? I don't care how tough you are. There are real reasons to carry a gun, none of which involve paranoia. I carry a gun almost everywhere I go because I know that it puts me capable of being able to defend myself and put out more force than someone who doesn't have a gun. And it puts me at an equal playing field of someone who does. Or if multiple people are trying to attack me, it levels the playing field a little bit more in my favor. Because I have no intentions of defending myself when someone else is the aggressor in a fair manner. I absolutely want to fight in a way that gives me the biggest advantage possible that is legal to use at the time. So all these people saying, oh, just fight them off, or a real man doesn't carry a gun. You can eat my entire fucking ass if you think I'm fighting a San Francisco crackhead. I am, one, going to try to get the fuck out of there because what am I even doing in San Francisco? And two, I just am not stronger than them. You aren't either. I don't care how strong you think you are, crackhead strength is a real thing. Let me know what you guys think down below. This was very interesting to me. It was interesting to see this kind of information and showing that the support for gun control is trending downwards. Very promising to me. Let me know what you think. You guys know the drill. Have fun, be safe, stay dangerous. Peace.